Hello everyone! In today's video, I'm going to show you how I built this wonderful wall shelf on a budget. It's beautiful, it's functional, and it's really super easy. You ready? Let's get started. Alright, so these are the items that I used to build my shelf. I purchased one 2 by 10 by 10 piece of dried kiln wood from Lowe's. It was about $11. I purchased two 1 by 3s by 8. This is to put across the front so that items on your shelf do not come off. I purchased those at Lowe's for about $1.50 each. You will need some wood glue, and that's to glue your front rail to the front of your shelf. You'll need a nail gun or nails and a hammer. You'll need some stain and a paintbrush, or you could just leave your wood raw. That's beautiful too. Or maybe you want to paint it with a latex paint or a chalk paint. That would be beautiful too. You're going to need some brackets to hold your shelf on the wall. I purchased these iron brackets from Hobby Lobby at 50% off, so they were $4 each. These are 8 inches by 8-inch brackets. You'll need a pen or a pencil, something to mark the studs on your wall so that you could screw your brackets into the studs. You'll need some screws. You'll need long screws. I used 3.5-inch wood screws to screw the brackets into the studs. And then I used, I think, 1.5-inch wood screws to screw the brackets onto the bottom of the shelf. So you'll need screws for those items. You'll need a drill and bits. So what I did is I put the bracket on the wall and I used my pen and I marked the circles where the screws go. Then I took my drill and my drill bits and I drilled into the wall where I'm going to screw. Okay? And then you'll need a bit for putting the screws in. And of course you need a level. So I used, I think, a 3 or 4 foot level. And what I did is I put up the first bracket. Okay. And then when I got ready to put the second bracket on the wall, I put the level on top of the brackets. And then I moved the second bracket higher or lower to make sure it was level. Then I marked with my pen the holes where I'm going to drill for my screws. That way, every bracket is level with the next one. So you're just going to take your level and move it down to the next, and then put the next bracket on, and so on, okay? So you do need that level. All right, now that you know everything that I used, let's get started. Okay, so in this picture, you will see the brackets are screwed into the bottom of my shelf. What I did is I held my shelf up to the wall after I marked my studs, and I marked a line on the bottom of the shelf where the studs will be on the shelf. I went ahead and screwed my brackets to the bottom, and this is just so it gives me stabilization for mounting the front rail, and also for staining the shelf. I'm able to keep it in an upright position and stain both sides at once, so I get it done twice as fast. After I was done staining, I removed the brackets and let the shelf dry, and then I mounted those brackets onto the wall. So this is why you see the brackets on the shelf now. I did not keep it that way. I used it for stabilization. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and attach that front rail. I used a 1 by 3. I used wood glue and my nail gun. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is take our wood glue. We are going to apply it along here. Then we will lay our 1x3 board on top and we will nail it down with our nail gun. Okay? Okay, so I have the wood glue on. There we go. So the next thing we're going to do is spread it out. Okay, so now we are going to put our wood on. So I have my 1x3 and all I'm going to do is line it up with this edge right here so it's flush. Okay, lining it up. This is going to be our ledge. Alright, so let me put some nails in it to hold it in place. I want to make sure it's flush and lined up all around. Alright, so I'm going to go all the way down. Tacking it in place with my nail gun. You can see how it looks. See how I have a ledge here? So this is going to keep my books and pictures or whatever I put on this big shelf. It's going to keep them from falling off because it has this front ledge. So let's look at it like that. See that? All right, so I have moved my shelf outside because I'm going to stain it next. So I'm using Minwax Provincial Wood Finish, which is just a stain, nothing else. And I'm using a disposable chip brush that's 2 inches. And so now I'm just going to paint the whole shelf with stain, going with the wood grain, okay? So I stain the front, the top, and the underside. Alright guys, so I have my whole shelf stained and now I'm just waiting for it to dry. right. This is 10 inches wide plus this board, which is a 1 by 2. This is a 2 by 10 by 10. This is the part that's going to go against the wall. I didn't stain that because I don't want it to get on my wall, just in case. Here are the brackets that I'm using. These are from Hobby Lobby. Cost about $4. These are 8 inches by 8 inches brackets. Alright, so let me go and mount the brackets to the studs on the wall and let this shelf dry, and then we will put that big heavy shelf up on those brackets and screw it in. Alright, so I'll meet you back here when I get the shelf in the room. Alright, so the next step is to mount the brackets to the studs in the wall. So what I did is I started with the first bracket, I mounted that to the wall, and then I used my level. I have a nice long level, and I used that level to position the second bracket. So this showed me if I needed to raise or lower that bracket by looking at that bubble on the level. Okay, I had an ink pen and put little dots in those holes on the bracket onto the wall. Then I took my drill bit and I drilled holes where those dots were so that I could screw much easier through the wood planks on the walls and then also through the stud. So I used 3.5 inch long wood screws to mount the brackets to the studs, okay? All right, so now that they're all up and mounted and super sturdy, screwed into the studs, now with the help of my wonderful husband, he helped me carry that big, long, heavy piece of wood that's our shelf and sit it up on top of those brackets. So I made sure that I had to push that shelf all the way against that wall before I started screwing them brackets in. To attach the shelf to the brackets, I used 1 inch wood screws. I used 1 inch screws because my shelf is a 2 by 10 by 10, which technically is really a 1.5 inch thick piece of wood. All right, so you cannot use longer screws than that because otherwise they will come out through the wood on top of your shelf, and you do not want that. All right, so I went ahead and I screwed all of the screws. It's 4 screws per bracket into the bottom of our shelf, and voila, we have a beautiful shelf on our wall, and I'm so excited. All right, guys, so as you can see, I finished the shelf. It's so easy. You can do this. I know you can. All right, so let's talk about cost. I said on a budget, right? Well, this is really, really inexpensive to make. So the brackets I got for 50% off from Hobby Lobby. So my brackets cost me $20. The long 10-foot piece of wood from Lowe's was $11, so we're at $31. Then that front ledge, that cost me $1.50 for each board, so say $3 because I had to buy 2. So what are we at? $34? That's amazing, okay? When I looked on Etsy, they wanted like hundreds and hundreds of dollars for a shelf that size. I mean, that was easily $200 to $300, and I can tell you it would not be half as sturdy as the one that I built. First of all, the ones on Etsy don't even come with the brackets, okay? And I'm sure it's not 2 by 10 by 10. That wood is heavy. That shelf is made to last forever, and it was like $34 plus tax. So hello, we did it on a budget. It looks great. It's super sturdy, and it's really easy to do. Well, guys, I hope I inspired you to declutter your house and build you some shelves. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.
Like and subscribe to Grandma's channel. Like and subscribe to Grandma's channel.